So in a recent interview that I did with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, they highlighted the fact that specifically for small and medium-sized businesses, they're seeing a decrease in terms of their access to loans that may be important for them to continue to run their businesses. Is that something that you've seen in your day-to-day or experienced?
100%. Yes. Traditional banking and restaurants don't get along very well, unfortunately. We are considered a high-risk business. For the most part, we have access to very small lines of credit, maybe a credit card. And on top of that, we have access to loans that are guaranteed by the federal government, like a CSBL, the Canadian Small Business Loan. Other than that, very little.
And so what have you found as the solution for yourself? And explain to people why small, medium-sized businesses, and specifically those in the restaurant industry, would need these small loans to keep going.
Well, particularly in the restaurant business, we have busy seasons and we have slow seasons. And sometimes you need a little bit of capital, a little bit of cash flow to bridge the slow season with the busy season. That doesn't mean that you're not profitable. That doesn't mean that you're not doing okay, but you still have to pay the same amount of insurance, you still have to pay the same amount for a lot of things, including rent. Rent being the biggest expense. So you need to get access to cash flow / capital funds to keep your business running. So in situations like this, you have to go with private lenders that are more readily available to work with businesses our size, but they're very expensive. Or you have to come up with your own money, however way that is.
So there are a lot of ebbs and flows in the restaurant business under normal circumstances, but you are dealing with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of it related to what's happening south of the border with tariffs. Are they on, are they off? And it changes day by day, sometimes by the hour. How do you manage that?
It's very difficult. I think that using the word manage might be a little bit of a stretch. We have to do a lot of recalibrating, we have to do a lot of adjusting, and the sad part of that is that it doesn't allow us enough time to really focus on the business. We are basically just putting out fires, finding out what's happening south of the border, what the reaction is going to be from the federal and provincial government, and sort of work from there. But things are evolving and changing so fast that it's very, very hard to catch up.
And tell us about the impact, the tariff impact on your inputs. So, for example, we know that steel and aluminum tariffs impact those tall boy cans, which are, I'm told, one of the most popular formats here in Canada. But it goes beyond that, right? There are other items as well that the customers may not ever think about.
Absolutely. I was just having a conversation the other day with the gentleman that supplies me or my business with takeout containers, paper napkins, plastic containers. All of those items are going to be, if they are not already, some of them are already, some of them are going to be affected by the tariffs. And it is always a little bit easier to justify to people that we're going to charge a little bit more for a beer because they see the beer, they get to drink the beer. It's hard to justify to people that we have to charge them a little bit more for paper napkins. But everything is part of the equation, unfortunately.
Now, part of the equation, too, is this movement to buy Canadian. Have you seen that showing up in terms of what customers ask for and other ways that they want to support your business?
100%. Yes, we're seeing more, whether silently or very vocally, that people are looking for local, not only just Canadian, but Toronto, Ontario, GTA area products.
And nothing happens in a vacuum. A lot of economists say, you know, if we don't see some major changes soon, we here in Canada could be on the path to an economic downturn or a recession that would obviously have an impact on your business. How are you planning for that possibility, a slowdown of sorts, during what would typically be your busier season?
Staying informed right now is super important. We need to get a better understanding of what's going to happen from the federal level, but we have an election on the 28th. So we need to wait until then. And waiting is not a thing that we want to do a lot of right now. We want to move forward, but we have to wait until the 28th and then see which platform we're going to be working on. That's really as much as we can do at the moment, I am afraid.
And what happens during downturns based on what you've seen in the past? You know, I'm assuming that people are going to be more kind of mindful of how much money they have to spend and where they're going to be spending it.
It's terrible. The first thing that people cut back on is entertainment. Whether going to a restaurant, going to the movie theater, if guests stop coming to the restaurant, may that be my business or anybody else's, there's going to be less hours for our staff, there's going to be less work for our staff, which in turn creates other sorts of issues.
And my final question here is, you have made it through, the COVID era, which presented its own set of challenges and reasons to have to pivot. How difficult is what you're trying to manage here compared with what you had to deal with, say, 5 years ago?
I think, obviously, we're not dealing with a health pandemic, right? We're healthy, that is good.
That's great.
But from the business standpoint, it's very similar. Again, because of the uncertainty, we don't know what we have to prepare for. And us as business owners, we're not only responsible for ourselves and for our families. A business like mine right now employs 86 people. And they also want to have a level of certainty. They want to plan for their lives. They want to plan their expenses. And the way how things are right now is impossible for me to plan, is impossible for them to plan.
Thanks so much for your time and your insight.
My pleasure.